Well, we all make choices. And unfortunately for you, I've made mine. Hi, Ugly. It's me, Bussy Jenner, and welcome back to Hot or Hot. And today we'll be reviewing the real grand finale of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 9. Our queens were challenged to give it their all one last time in the Slate Forward variety show, and the runway category was Grand Finale Extravaganza. Eleganza. Eleganza. But I think we all know the only thing that really mattered from this episode was RuPaul's brat-coated gown. So Julia of her. Anyways, we've got a robbery to discuss. Or do we? But more on that later, plus some interesting reactions to look at from queens like Detox and Kandy Muse after we break this finale down queen by queen. And now first up in the order they performed in the variety show, it's Angie 2.0, you ugly bitch, who in the variety show is performing an original number, I think entitled Park and Bark, which is a little song and dance number with a nod to old Hollywood glamour in her outfit, and tales of coming from the countryside all the way to the silver screen in her lyrics. I think what I love most about this track was how buttery smooth her voice sounded on it. Like, this was just such a sweet spot for her, I think, in terms of songwriting and delivery in her voice, plus also giving us a little bit of comedy at the end of her show. Don't I look rich, you ugly bitch? Which was her ending tagline, and a great reminder that our sweet, classy, elegant Southern belle is also a little bit of a bitch sometimes. But I suppose the best of us are. This performance was a hot. And over on the runway, she is giving us the only princess of the aviary. Literally dripping in multiple thousands of crystals and feathers that start in like a gold and orange hue down into multiple shades of blue in the bottom of this absolutely breathtaking gown. And this really feels like such a fun, fresh, modern take on that high pageant glam that Angie likes to tap into for her sense of style. And I've also got to call out her makeup and hair are so finessed here. And she is absolutely, I think, demonstrating here that she has perfected her drag from head to toe. Like, what a great runway capstone for her run on this season. This look is totally hot. Oh, I forgot to read my joke. I was gonna say, are you fucking kidding? This look is hot. Y'all can't take me in this wig. I can't take myself in this wig. This is not a wig, this is my hair. Bitch, Anna and Elsa are shook. They don't know what's coming. Bitch, I hope they're ready for a blizzard. They're about to freeze to death, bitch. And next up is our favorite little gorge girl, Gottmik, who in the variety show gives us a little rock and roll number, singing lyrics like, I'm so fashion it makes me bored, and of course, I'm so gorge. And generally speaking, I actually really liked this track. I enjoyed the production and high energy of it, but there was something about, I think, the way this live performance was executed that just didn't quite maybe sell the song as grand as it could have. And obviously I know like she has the limitations of being on Drag Race and performing this, but in an ideal world, I think this act really would have benefited from some crazier lights, or maybe some really basic pyrotechnics, stuff that they would have allowed on the show, or most definitely, I think, some more exciting choreo. It was just a lot of, I'm walking here, I'm walking there, and I'm singing these edgy lyrics, and at the end she picks up the guitar, which was a kind of like, okay, and look, I don't play the guitar, so I don't really know that much about that situation, but it didn't sound like it was totally in sync with her backing track, but maybe also was partially intended with the rock and roll chaos of it all. But you know what would have been really rock and roll? Breaking the guitar at the end. This number was all bark and no bite, so I'm gonna leave it at a warming up. But over on the runway, my God, this is why we're here. This is why Gottmik is here. And y'all, we are lucky to be witnessing runways like this. I'm so goop. I'm so gagged. This is such a beautiful runway, which she says is paying homage to Alexander McQueen, very famous designer, and specifically his Horn of Plenty collection. But is it fashion? Yes, of course, absolutely. I love that structured ruffle in the train of this gown and how she's achieved so much shaping and silhouette with all of these straps up and down in the gown, and how there's some little subtle design details like the straps coming down her arm and the top of her hands to sort of emulate like skeleton bone suits. And the wig. Props to your mama for whoever created this wig. This is insane. The wig itself belongs in the MoMA. Gottmik, this look is hot. And you know what? It's also giving Lulu from Final Fantasy X, but like maybe in the untold story of what she did after Yuna's pilgrimage, where I think we can clearly see she's working in some kind of nightclub dungeon. And next up, Helotus, it's Jorgeous, who performs to a track. And actually track like that so blandly because I don't really know what to call the number to which she performed. It was like a sassy bitch track, but it wasn't her sassy bitch track. And I'm not saying she didn't prep the track or bring it with her to this competition. I'm just pointing out that the voice in the track was not hers. numbers, which normally I wouldn't point out as a huge problem in these variety show challenges. However, when every other queen that's performing an original number has their own vocals in their tracks, it just sticks out as odd when Jorgeous doesn't. Once you get past that, you realize this variety show is more about the choreo and performance of it all, as it always is with Jorgeous. And we do see her truly give it her best with some of these crazy dance moves, like the absolutely gag-worthy, breathtaking, stunning move at the end of her show where she's picked up by the dancers, does a backflip, and then is just like slid across the stage like a little doll. Baby, you can't slide the doll. But they did. And yes, I would have loved to have heard her put her own vocals on this track, but this was still a hot for me. And over on the runway, she says she is paying homage to Selena in this all red dress adorned with rosebuds up and down the gown. I think she does look absolutely gorgeous in this look. I love the hair in particular. That little curl on her forehead is so cute. And this is absolutely her color, and I love how it's paired with those beautiful gold chains around the waist. But what I didn't love was the placement of some of these rosebuds in some of those midsections of the gown, because it starts to look more and more like Miss Fierce Delicious's gown the more I look at it. And I don't know if some of those roses just got a little like smushed in the travel, or if at this point I've just stared at them too long, but they just seem a little odd to me. And I never thought I'd say there's too many rosebuds, but in this particular situation, there are too many rosebuds in the kitchen. But I would still give this look a safe 3-flame hug. And next up, it's Plastique Tiara, who in the challenge, wow, absolutely took my breath away. She performs an original track in which there's a lot of emphasis on theatrics and showmanship. And it starts with these beautiful petals falling behind her, and then we see her backup dancers pull her giant oversized sleeves to both sides of the stage where they're shaking it, making it look like the wind is blowing her dress, and they snatch it off of her in an amazing reveal. And then after the outfit reveal, she gets carried to the front, does a lightsaber show, then gets carried to another section of the stage and activates her chest firework show, sparkler, grinder, whatever the hell that is, and then starts cooking marshmallows on it like I was gagged. I felt like with the dynamics of the track's genre and all of the different crazy visual effects happening, I was watching some sort of elaborate K-pop music video, but then I realized like, no, this is just Plastique Tiara doing her very best drag, and oh my god, is it sick. And I think maybe you could critique this in a way and say, well, she didn't really do that much. She was kind of just carried by the dancers to different places on the stage where she then proceeded to do her crazy tricks. But I think that was part of why I liked it so much, like the diva behavior of it all. This was totally I feel like my makeup color combo is giving yassified Ronald McDonald. Honestly, period. And she's absolutely back at it with the theatrics over on the runway. This look is incredible. But she, like Gottmik, have just been serving absolute serve after serve after serve on the runway. And I'll say it again. We are lucky to be alive in a time where we can see such amazing runway packages like this. And what makes this look so exciting are all the different pieces and parts, like the 4 or 5 or 6 different flags, putting at different angles and being decorated with different colored stones. The spear she's carrying, the extra high platform heels, the ornate patterns on all of it, the colors, just everything about this is absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. And I love that she is, again, as she usually always is on the runway, sharing her culture with us. She says this look is inspired by a Vietnamese opera costume and is a love letter to all the young queer boys who are going to see this over there and recognize what they're seeing in Plastique Tiara, who's on RuPaul's Drag Race. This look is hot. And next up, we've got Nina West reminding us that drag is for everyone, but should it be for me? Let me know down in the comments below, yes or no. Anyways, her challenge is kind of like Dr. Seuss meets Drag Race. And I feel like she really towed that line between overly positive cringe with actually really well done performance. She came out with that overly positive attitude thing and I was like, oh god, here we go. And then I actually was like listening to her spit these absolute bars. In a song about drag impacting everyone from grandpa's death dropping to frat boys spilling tea, it honestly was just so clean and so well done that I have absolutely no choice but to say this was hot. And over on the runway tonight, I think Nina is looking her absolute best for All Stars 9. This is an incredibly beautiful look from Nina. And as Michelle put it, she put the costumes away and just gave us some glamorous, beautiful drag, which was really nice. I love the proportionizing she's done with those hips and how that train connects to the front of the chest piece in the gown. And I'm gonna give this look a 4-flame hot. And next up, she's gonna give it her best shot. It's Roxxxy Andrews, who in the Slate Forward variety show is giving us a little burlesque for our nerves. And I hate to say it, but the first thing I noticed with this was that her vocals sounded like she recorded them into a tin can. It really took me out of the experience of it all for like at least half of the performance. But once you get past the bathroom tin can vocals, you actually see the burlesque number is a lot of fun and has some great lyrics that are very tongue-in-cheek about her being here again and again and giving it her best shot and being here to make it clear, all wrapped up in some thick and juicy messaging and butt shaking at the end, which looks incredible. And even though this wasn't the flashiest show or maybe even the best variety show burlesque number that we've seen, I did still enjoy it, and I would give this a safe high. And over on the runway, baby, you can't outshine the sun, but Roxxxy Andrews sure is gonna try. I'll say the color, this golden burnt orange color, is really beautiful in this gown. I love all that beading and fringe. She looks super gorgeous. The one thing I would change though is probably the headdress, which just looks a little too small for the proportions of everything else happening in this look. Like, it just kind of reads as an afterthought, but it's okay, I guess. Like, it's not right, but it's okay. So I'd give this look a safe high. And next up, the original drag queen, Shannel, who in the variety show gives us a bevy of talents where she is juggling not only bowling pins, but also scimitars. And then at the end, balances a giant caged cube on her chin. And I'll say the show felt very Vegas in that, like, consistently upping the ante for each successive act way. And I would absolutely pay to see a much longer version of something like this in Vegas, where there were even more acts and magic from a queen like Shannel. This girl, let me get a ticket. She's kind of giving me Christina Angel, Henrietta Houdini, and I probably would have given this like 5 out of 5 hot flames if it were not for that outfit, because oh my God, what is that outfit? Like, it's almost as bad as this wig. I don't know what this outfit is, y'all. It's giving like, I'm meeting with the board of the Crayola Crown directors at 5, and I've got a gymnast routine at 7. And like, what did the look have to do with the performance at all? And then my next magic trick, I read the doll. But over on the runway, she proves looks are not actually an area she suffers in, and maybe was just having a minor lapse in judgment for that talent show, because this number is sickening. This gown, if you can even call it that, because like it is a literal piece of walking art, is so sick. She tells us that each stone is actually soldered together and there's not a stitch of fabric holding anything she's wearing together, which is just such a wonderful display of glamour, opulence, and over-the-topness, all of the things that make up good drag. And so pays homage to Erte, a designer from the 20th century who did lots of these very opulent designs in his art, books, furniture, yada, yada, yada. And the dog walking prop that she is rolling down that runway is so sick. I love that it adds that element of drag is not serious. It's all just a big, stupid joke to this beautiful, beautiful runway. And I'm just so happy for this. And I hope she gets the flowers she deserves for this presentation, because this was so great. This was hot. Next up, Miss Vanjie. And in the challenge, she's giving us a little number about wearing leotards firmly directed at both Rupaul and Michelle. And in a word, this performance is energetic, and that is why it was so successful. Vanjie is absolutely on top of every single beat with some sickening choreo in this track. And she was just letting us have it with the fan blowing, the hair flipping, the way she did her leotard reveals. And I'm like having trouble describing what exactly she did here besides dance, but it's like she put that, like the way she speaks with that guttural Miss Vanjie thing into a track and performance number. And I love how at the end she has that final little leotard reveal where it says eat it, and then she, you know, falls into her backup dancers off of the stage to end the number. This performance I'm gonna give a hot. And over on the runway, she says she's giving us hip-hop royalty, which we can see some like inspiration in that like giant oversized coat she's wearing, the little flashy leotard, and then that beautiful nameplate chain net thing that she's wearing across her body. Plus, I absolutely love the detail of the chain in her hair going down the middle part. This is really, really pretty. And also, I think is a great intersection of her drag between fashionable and street chic. This is totally hot. Which leads us into the discussion portion of our video. So the top 2 of this challenge, as we know, we're going to be awarded 3 badges each. So the stakes are high. And the judges choose Angeria and Vanjie as the top 2 of the week. And I'll say, I don't think this was necessarily the wrong top 2, 2, but for me personally, didn't feel like the correct top 2. Because Angie and Vanjie both had stellar performances in the variety show in their own genre of drag, but I personally thought this was a complete and total snub to Plastique Tiara, who put on one of the most theatrical and exciting drag performances in the variety show we have ever seen on this show. And she also had one of the best, maybe the best, runway this week. And looking at my Flame scoring system, Plastique was the only queen I gave 10 out of 10 across the 2 categories this week, but I do have Angie and Vanjie right behind Plastique with 9 out of 10 each, both missing a flame in the challenge for me. And if I were gonna make a tiebreaker here, I think it would be really easy to just look at the track records and say, well, Angie probably deserves this spot in the final 3 more than Vanjie, so that's who I would choose to be my top 2 of this week. But honestly, nobody was bad in this variety show, and I think depending on who your favorite queens are from this season, you could be finding yourself with a very different opinion than mine and hoping there was a completely different top 2 than either Rue chose or I would have selected. That said, I think Rue's choice of top 2 makes a lot of sense because these are 2 of her favorite queens. They both consistently make Rue laugh, listen to Rue's advice, and are kind, humble queens who look up to Mama Rue and consistently sing the praises of RuPaul's Drag Race. In essence, I'm saying that from the eyes of Rue and the larger production company, both of these queens would be great mascots for the franchise because they really embody the idea of Drag Race being a place where RuPaul can find a baby queen, see a star power in her, and then raise her up to be that final powerful form that she is on All Stars. Another queen I see very much in this category is someone like Jorgeous. But Plastique, as one example, is not someone who I view really in that same category. Like, yes, she has very much been able to use Drag Race as a launching point for her career and is very thankful to Mother Rue for the opportunity she's given. But she has a level of success on her own via her social media platforms and international appearances that is kind of uninfluenced or untouched by Rue. And I am just spitballing here, but as a viewer of the show, it did kind of feel like throughout the season, Rue didn't show the same love or type of love to Plastique as she does to queens like Angeria, Vanjie, and Jorgeous. And the other queens in that Plastique category, I think, are queens like Shannel and Gottmik. All queens who have very much had their own individual success, not directly because of the show, but definitely helped by the show. But I don't know, let me know what y'all thought in the comments below of how this talent show turned out, and in a bigger sense, if you think that you saw any favoritism throughout this season for specific queens. And not that that's a bad thing, it is RuPaul's Drag Race, and she is going to have favorites. Anyways, moving into the Double Diamond twist. So last week we talked about how there were basically 2 strategic decisions that the queens should be making in order to better their chances at entering the finale. And one of those was to vote for Roxxxy, which would have just doubled her badges and put her into the finale like she started the episode. And the other was to vote for a queen with a low number of badges like Nina, who the queens thought might not win the talent show. And as we find out, Nina is indeed the queen who ends up winning the Double Diamond prize, which was a strategically smart choice on the part of the queens to make. But from a production standpoint, it made this prize just feel like an absolute wet blanket of nothing, which made it yet another useless twist of this season, of which there have been several. Ruby Red Snippers, I'm looking at you. And the Double Diamond badge probably just needed to be completely reworked or not implemented at all. Or the voting on this should have been done after the variety show so as to give the queens an actual voice in saying who gets to make it to the finale, instead of allowing this twist to be basically used in a null way by choosing the most strategic decision. Anyways, another useless twist in All Stars 9? Check. But that brings us to our final 3 lip sync between Roxxxy Andrews, Angeria VanMicheals, and Vanessa Vanjie Mateo. But first I want to let you know today's video is sponsored by my Patron family over at patreon.com/bussyqueen, because I truly could not be making content as a full-time job without my Patron family supporting me every single month with a monthly pledge. And in return for that pledge, my patrons get exclusive member benefits like early access to my YouTube videos and access to tons of exclusive content like Bus Stop podcast episodes where I discuss pop culture, and reactions to episodes of RuPaul's Drag Race that I review every single week. So please, 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 Sabrina Carpenter, go join my Patreon at patreon.com/bussyqueen. The link is in the description below. See you there. But back to our lip sync, which was to Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation. So this is one of those 3-way lip syncs where the queens are essentially taking turns lip syncing and not sharing the stage, which I think is both good and bad, because on one hand, we don't have all 3 queens on the stage at the same time, which can be a little messy, but I do think we lose a little bit of competitive edge in lip syncs like this because the queens can't see what the other queens are doing. My personal ranking of how these lip syncs went was number 1, Roxxxy, 2, Angeria, and 3, Vanjie. And Roxxxy took this from me primarily because she was able to incorporate at least a nod to some of the choreo from the Rhythm Nation music video, which is so iconic. Plus, I felt that thing happen that happens when Roxxxy is on stage, like when she gets possessed by the spirit of the lip syncing gods. She looked locked in, loaded, and just absolutely dominated this lip sync for me. And Angeria's lip sync was good, but I don't think really tailored to this song or showing that same level of drag experience that Roxxxy really brought to this. And Vanjie's had a confetti thing. She did that. To me, it didn't look like she was very prepared for this, especially not at the level she was prepared for that talent show, I'll tell you that. And even though Roxxxy, I think pretty clearly wins this lip sync, we do see the judges ultimately announce the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star Season 9 is Angeria Paris VanMicheals, which first I have to say, congratulations are absolutely in order for Angeria here. This is a deserved win. She has charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent out the ass, and is one of the most respectful, talented, humble, kind, and generous winners this franchise has ever seen. And I don't want to see a single one of you saying that she does not deserve this or any kind of language like that, because I think she very much earned this crown. She secured 3 wins leading up to this finale, and just like Roxxxy, won all of her top 2 lip syncs. It was very obviously seen as a threat by the other queens in the competition, getting Ruby Red Snippered 3 times this season. And even though I wouldn't say she outperformed Roxxxy in that final 3 lip sync to Rhythm Nation, I would argue that she had a better variety show performance and runway this episode, which was, after all, the finale challenge in runway, and that's worth a lot. So please, please, please send Angeria some love here, because what a killer season. What a killer package she brought to this. What a display of talent she showed every single episode. And I can't wait to watch her reign, and I just know she is going to be such a positive influence on this fan base and a wonderful, wonderful mascot of the franchise. But with that, let's read some dramatic tweets from Detox. So after the finale aired, the first thing we see from Detox is, "No," which she followed up with a post writing, "The itch is gone, playing in my girl's face." They're seemingly referencing her itch to go on Drag Race and Drag Race playing in Roxxxy's face by not crowning her. And followed up with, "Also a reminder that runways mean garbage because Plastique all over that stage," which, like, yeah, is a very true statement. It's basically challenge performance and who is Rue's favorite. That is all that's considered. And Kandy Muse echoed a similar sentiment on her X profile after the finale aired, writing, "A runway package a winner does not make. A winner embodies the true essence of being America's Next Drag Superstar while also killing the competition. Angeria won fair and square. This is what happens when you have more than one good competitors in a competition. It could have gone to either Angeria or Roxxxy because they both killed it all season long." True. At the end of the day, only one queen wins the crown, but Roxxxy has won so much more than a crown. They literally all have. No one is robbed because no one is entitled to that crown. It all comes down to what RuPaul's wants. True. And finally, we'll talk hottest hots. On the runway, I'm gonna give it to Gottmik, and in the challenge, Plastique Tiara. And I also asked my patrons to vote on their hottest hot, and this week they've chosen Jorgeous in the variety show and Plastique on the runway. And lastly, I want to say thanks so much to you for watching this video. Don't forget to join my Patreon for exclusive member benefits, like access to reaction videos of every episode of Drag Race I review every single week. And finally, I want to give an extra special shout out to Ashton, Felicia, Laura, Matthew Burns, and Will and Tanner, who are all supporting me at my Bussy Queen Collector tier at patreon.com/BussyQueen. See you later. Love ya. Bye. This is the only wig I packed, y'all, and I'm on this trip. So this is what we're gonna serve.